Okay, let's start with Launchpad McQuack.
That's not the actual title of this.
We are Sex Bombs! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Hello there. Today we will be taking a look at diegetic and non-diegetic music, what defines them both, and when they are used in film. Specifically, we will be taking a look at the 1958 Orson Welles film, A Touch of Evil, and the story behind its different use of these two types of film music. Let's start with the definition of diegetic music. Diegetic music or source music can be defined as music that's origin derives from and is justified by the reality of the film's visual narrative. The term diegetic can also be applied to many different aspects of a film, including sound in general, as sounds such as footsteps or a doorbell also derive from within the film's fictional world. While non-diegetic or underscoring can be described as music that source cannot be found within the film's world.
Underscoring refers to what the audience hears only, and is typically used to emphasize moods and character emotions. The source of this type of music comes from an orchestral score that is made to coexist alongside the visual narrative of the film. Even with their differences, they both serve in various ways, such as having a psychological and emotional effect, as well as assisting the establishment of the setting of the film. While these definitions are simple and straightforward, some film theorists believe them to be reductive and problematic to the artistry of film music. As film composers/film theorists Hans Eisler and Theodor Adorno put it, source music hinders the use of music as genuine contrast and reduces music to the status of an acoustical stage property. Despite the opposition, the term continues to be used in academia to easily discuss and describe film music and the choices made by composers and directors. Let's detour a bit to discuss our film, A Touch of Evil, directed and disowned by Orson Welles. I say disowned because Orson Welles was fired off the project after completing his first cut of the film. The executives at Universal didn't like the dark and cynical shape the film was taking. There were also concerns that Welles was taking too long to finish the film. Being driven by the fear of a box office bomb, they decided to take the film away from Welles and finish it themselves. They reshot some scenes and mixed it according to their liking and only showed Welles their cut once before the film was released. Welles took to pen and paper and outlined a 58-page letter of his utter dismay at the final version of the film, directed towards the executives at Universal. He also outlined his creative process for the direction he wanted to take the film, so much so that editors were able to recreate Welles' vision from the notes he detailed in his letter to the studio. In the end, two versions of the film exist. One version with underscoring from Henry Mancini, and another recut and remixed according to Welles' instructions with source music. Diegetic music can be used and not used for many reasons. However, let's discuss the ways Orson Welles used diegetic music in his version of the opening scene of A Touch of Evil. Here it is used to represent a location, a noisy, busy street along the US-Mexico border with different music emanating from multiple car radios. The lack of underscoring in this scene also takes away from the over-the-top anticipation of the bomb in the car. Welles wants the audience to see the bomb and know it's there, but at the same time he wants us to get comfortable as we slowly let our guard down throughout the scene. While the 1958 version created tension through underscoring, Welles' original intention for the opening in 1998 contained source music which provided more depth into the film, not only providing the music to create mood of the happy, unaware couple, but also provides insight to the setting, which would be near the US-Mexican border. Switching gears to the non-diegetic music in the studio cut, there it is used to build the anticipation of the bomb going off, as we hear the constant ticking of the bomb throughout the whole scene. The ticking is part of the underscoring, but can also be heard by the couple driving the car.
Hey, I got
You're
this...
American citizen, miss?
No, I got this ticking noise.
Yeah, okay.
No, really, this
Good night.
ticking noise in my head.
Like with source music, the underscoring can be used to represent the location of the scene, as they do here with the Latin-inspired drum beats.
Touch of Evil is a film noir movie. A film noir is a phrase of French origin used to describe American film with a darker, pessimistic subject. Typical conventions of film noir include foreshadowing through music, the use of black and white film, and employing a cop or law enforcement of some degree, which the Orson Welles version accurately depicts. And usually there's some sort of narration or voiceover, except for the snippets provided, narration was not employed. Henry Mancini's underscored version of Touch of Evil begins with an ominous tone. The rapid timbre gives off a sense of dread, and you know something's going to happen. As the scene progresses, this music settles down to match the main character's lack of awareness of the imminent car crash. However, the source music provided by Orson Welles entails the absence of non-diegetic music that makes the scene drag on. The music sets the tone for the scene's prominent Hollywood environment, and it utilizes grandiose radio music to express the oblivious nature as to what's to come.
One difference between versions of the opening of Touch of Evil is that the underscored version has credits, while the source music version does not. The credits were most likely taken out of Welles' version, as it suits the more realistic world created in this version. The credits serve as a constant reminder you are watching a film, so without them, it drops you into the world of the characters better.
The usage of popular music in film, especially with the genres of rock and roll and jazz in the height of the 1950s, had several positive effects to them. Firstly, it elevated the mood of the scenes that these genres were present in, and it also attracted audience members to the theaters. More specifically, young audience members who saw these types of music as a way of expression, or even rebellion, because these genres were associated with sexual themes and themes associated with violence. More particularly in the film A Touch of Evil, the usage of jazz in the theatrical version of the opening scene, it heightens the exotic and racy Latin American setting and foreshadows the sinister events that follow after the principal characters are introduced. In addition to that as well, I think it also contrasts these characters and their dialogue, which is very innocent and naive as they've just gotten married and they're on their honeymoon. And this music definitely juxtaposes that very well.
We've talked about both versions, and now we must circle back and ask the question: were the decisions of the studio and the reaction of Welles justified in the end? It is subjective, of course, but we believe that they were both justified in their reactions. The studio editors had to bend to the wills of the executives at the top, and the decisions weren't solely made by them. To blame the editors by themselves would be incorrect, to say the least. The executives made their decisions based on what they thought would be the safest route to take in their minds. It was within their rights to do so, so that's why they did it. And when it comes to Welles, his reaction was very justified. After all, he wasn't the one who recut the film. All Welles did was send a letter about what he had wanted to do with his film. Having put so much time and effort into a project, to have it literally stolen and give it to others to finish must have been hard to watch. He had an artistic vision for the film that had to be killed because of fear of losing money by the executives. And like I said, he wasn't the one who edited his version of the film. Others took his letter and received permission to edit it according to his notes. So in the end, we think Welles was more than justified with his reaction. I would like to end on a quote from one of the editors of Welles's cut, Walter Murch, as I think it gets across why both versions of the film can and should exist. Touch of Evil is a highly designed film. Welles wrote it, directed it, starred in it. He was concerned about the minutiae of film, sound, and editing. So when the film was taken away from him and given to someone else, things just began to get fuzzy. What I think we have accomplished in this recut and remix is a reduction of the conceptual fuzziness. Obviously, the original 1958 version is still a great film, great enough to inspire many people to go into filmmaking. These changes we've made are subtle. They certainly don't turn the film inside out, but they're strong. The organization and emphasis of the new version are more consistent with the film as a whole. Touch of Evil is now more itself.